Book 2 of The Wealth of Nations focuses on stock. When Adam Smith talks about stock, he isn't using the word in the narrow sense that we have today, of a share in a company, although that kind of stock did exist when he was writing. Rather, Smith means stock in a broader sense, to mean any kind of asset someone might possess. In Chapter 1, he defines some terms. He starts by saying stock can be divided into two kinds: assets which exist to be consumed, and assets which can be used to create a profit. When someone only possesses enough to keep them going for a few days or weeks, they don't look to invest that. They use what they have to sustain themselves while they work to get more to use when they have run out of what they have now. Most people for most of history have lived like this, from paycheck to paycheck. You get paid, you pay your rent and bills, you buy food, then you go out and have a good time, and at the end of the month your money is gone, and you need your next paycheck to start it all over again. But when someone starts to earn enough that they have more than they need to live off, they start to look for ways to use that money to create more revenue in the future. If they have any sense, they do. If they don't, they'll just blow it on more extravagant consumption. This stock that is invested to get a return from it, Smith calls capital, and the other stock he says is for immediate consumption. Under immediate consumption, Smith includes not just things like food or firewood to be used up quickly, but also items like clothes or furniture which can last a person many years. It's an odd use of immediate, but once we start using an item, it does begin to wear out and steadily decline in value. It's similar to the modern idea of depreciation. There are two ways capital can be invested to give revenue. The first way is it can be used to produce something to sell, raising livestock, buying items to sell at profit, or buying raw materials to manufacture into goods. The nature of the item is constantly changing. For example, from coins to leather, from leather to shoes, and then from shoes back to coins again. Smith calls this circulating capital. For circulating capital, the profit comes to you when you let go of a stock. The second kind of capital is stock where the profit comes to you not from letting go of it, but from holding onto it. Machinery for factories, for example, or the tools for a tradesman, or investing into improving the quality of farmland. With this capital, the investments make money for you without you having to sell them. This second kind of capital, Smith calls fixed capital. If a farmer buys cattle to have them work for him by pulling a plough, or producing milk to sell, they are fixed capital. If he buys calves to fatten them up and sell them on the market for beef, they are circulating capital. Different occupations need different proportions of the two. A market trader's capital is entirely circulating capital, the stock which he sells. Manufacturers or craftsmen must have some of their capital fixed as the tools of the trade, and some as circulating capital in the form of the raw materials being worked on. The amount of fixed capital they need changes depending on the occupation. A tailor only needs his needles. A shoemaker doesn't need much more than that, but an ironworks requires huge items which are an expensive investment. Mining also requires a large investment in fixed capital. All fixed capital comes ultimately from circulating capital. All stock held in fixed capital requires circulating capital as well if it is to generate revenue. Machines need raw materials to work on, labour to run them, and electricity to power them. Farms need feed for the animals and farmhands to harvest the crops. Fixed capital alone cannot create profit. Circulating capital and fixed capital both exist to provide goods for consumption. Since we cannot take out indefinitely without also putting in, the system needs constant inputs, raw materials being produced, mined, fished, or grown. The sources of these supplies, the land, mines, and fisheries, themselves require both fixed and circulating capital to keep them going. He ends by looking at the economics of countries as a whole. A nation's economy works like that of individuals, in that the stock is divided into stock for consumption, or fixed and circulating stock, which creates revenue. In countries where there is security and rule of law, people can invest their stock, expecting to see a return on it in the future. In countries where capital is not secure, people keep hold of it or use it for consumption, holding back the development of the wealth of the nation. This is still a problem today in many parts of the world.